This is a repost. I want to let everyone know that before we start. Hi Lee, my name is Daniel, and I have been listening to your channel off and on for about a month and came across the NDE from the psychic a few days ago. I would like to first start by saying that she's not a psychic. She is a prophet. I am in the same boat as her, though my kids weren't murdered, and neither was I. I also believe that I'm a prophet. In 1986, I had just turned 12 and was outside playing in the rain. This wasn't a lightning storm, just a regular old rain shower. Anyone who has ever lived in the Midwest of the United States knows just how quickly the weather can change. To get to the point, I was struck by lightning. My mother saw the whole thing from our porch. She described how the lightning entered my head and flashed out of my feet. To the people I have told this to, most just laugh at me because they think that it's funny. There is nothing funny when God is throwing lightning bolts at you. There are 3 types of pain in this world. There's heartbreak, there's physical, and then there is the searing pain of being hit with a lightning bolt. Contrary to what people tell you, when you're struck, you don't feel it at all. You pretty much fall unconscious from it. When my mom saw the strike hit me, she said that my body crumbled like an empty garbage bag. She knew that I was dead even before she made it to my body. I want to try my best to explain what it is like to be struck by lightning. When it hits you, everything goes dark. It was during this time that I found myself outside of my body, looking down on it. My first thoughts when I looked down and saw myself were, wow, that sucked. As Julie explained in her NDE, I also felt a slight tugging sensation coming from my belly button area. I always compared it to fishing, sort of like when a fish bites your hook. This pulling sensation gradually got harder until I gave in and let go. To this day, I still cannot explain why I wanted to stay with my body. But eventually, the tug of war came to an end, with my body losing out. As I was being reeled in toward what I assumed was heaven, I noticed what appeared to be a funnel cloud forming around me. Those from the Midwest know that funnel clouds are not something that we mess with, and we immediately try to find shelter. Well, I tried to get away from it, but unfortunately, whatever was tugging at me continued to pull me toward my final destination. I remember bracing myself as I entered the funnel cloud, and when I realized nothing bad was happening, I relaxed further. I remember seeing on the walls of the funnel cloud a playback of what appeared to be my life. As I saw the life play, I saw how I was born and how eventually I was given up for adoption. This is something that I was never told. I remember as a baby seeing the couple that would eventually become my mom and dad, and knew that my life was going to be okay. I watched as I grew up and how I started to slip down a path that landed me in my first and last boys' home when I was 9. I had been caught stealing and smoking cigarettes, trying to impress the older cool kids. I suppose you could say that I was a troublemaker. I saw the judge sentencing me and felt the heartbreak that my mom had felt. The man that I called my dad passed away when I was 5. A car wreck claimed his life when he was coming home from an out-of-state business meeting. As a 5-year-old, I knew that my mom was in shock, and the sadness that I saw her go through was rough to witness. Nothing could prepare me for feeling the heartache of watching her 9-year-old son end up in a boys' home for a year. I do not know how she made it through that period of sadness. I went through quite a bit of stuff in the boys' home. Stuff that I had to relive in what I now know is a life review. I was assaulted multiple times by other kids and had to fight my way out of a lot of confrontations. Finally, I watched as the lightning bolt struck me. I saw my body crumple, and I saw and immediately felt my mother's sorrow. I knew that she would not recover from this one, especially if I died. As the life review was finishing up, I felt the tugging sensation stop, and then I was out of the funnel cloud and in the most magnificent place that I had ever seen. Everyone always says that they saw grass so green and a sky so blue, but what I saw could not be described. What I noticed more than the colors was the most beautiful singing that I had ever heard. Let me tell you, my grandma could sing. She could have been a star if only she had been discovered. This singing, though, was different. It was majestic, and it was pure devotion. One of the first things that I noticed when the string attached to my belly stopped tugging was that it wasn't there any longer. I could freely move in this direction and that direction. I could see all around me, 360 degrees. I no longer had my human appearance. It is not needed in heaven. As I floated closer to the sound of the music, the greatest feeling of love came over me. This is a love that I had never felt before and have yet to feel again. Even after becoming a father, while I love all of my children, there's just no comparison. As I continued to float closer and closer to the singing, I heard it. "Daniel, it is not your time. You have to go home, son." Since I could see 360 degrees, I knew who it was. It was my dad. As soon as I saw him, I felt an immense sadness. I somehow knew that no matter how much begging I did, I would not be able to stay. My dad still looked like himself, but a little younger. He had the widest grin on his face. He used to always grin at me like that. "I miss you, Daddy. I don't want to go." "Son, I know that you want to stay, but it isn't your time. You still have a lot of life left within you." I remember getting angry when he said this and asking him why God would take him from me and Mom. Before he could answer, I heard, "Because it was his time to come home, Daniel." I looked around until I saw where the voice was coming from. It was a tan-colored man, mid to late 30s, probably about 6'1" and 160 pounds. To little 4-foot me, he looked like a giant. He had brown hair, a neat brown beard, and lightning blue to green eyes. I remember glancing down at his feet, like all kids do when talking to a stranger, and seeing holes right above his ankle area. "Who are you?" I remember asking sheepishly. "You already know the answer to this question." "Jesus?" I said quizzically. He just sort of shook his head and then said, "It is almost time for you to return." I asked him why he took my dad away from my mom and me, knowing that if I had a body, I would be crying. It was his time to come home. He didn't want to leave, but knew that if he had stayed, you would have suffered. I was shown some stuff that would have happened if my dad had lived through the car accident. I will just say that he had a few demons, and they would have taken control of him, causing him to do some foul things to me and Mom. In the end, it was an act of mercy for bringing him home. I looked at my dad and noticed the sadness in his eyes. He knew what type of monster he would have become. "It's time to go home, Daniel. Your mom needs you," Jesus communicated to me. I hugged my dad and told him that I would see him again, and looked at Jesus and asked if I would fully recover from this episode. He assured me that as long as I kept praying and had faith, then I would be healed. I awoke to beeping and booping sounds and a strange sensation in my throat that I would later find out was my breathing tube. I glanced around the room with my eyes because my head was sort of belted in place and saw that my mom was holding my hand and praying. It took all that I had, but I managed to squeeze her hand. She looked up at me and saw my eyes were open and immediately hit the nurse call button and let them know I was up. The next few weeks were a blur as I was in and out of consciousness as I healed. The lightning had burnt my whole body, and doctors weren't sure if I was going to make it. I spent a month and a half in the hospital. Finally, I was released and able to come home. As my mom drove us home, she just let everything out. She cried as she told me that she was on the porch watching me play in the rain, watching as the lightning hit me, and trying for 2 weeks to decide whether to take me off of life support. I told Mom that everything was okay, that Jesus had me, and that I was with Daddy too. She looked at me in disbelief as I told her what my father looked like when he was much younger. What scared her was when I asked her why she never told me that I had been adopted. She asked how I knew that, and when I told her that while in heaven, I went through a life review and saw everything, she once again lost it. She said that she had never intended to tell me because my birth mother had tried to take my life when I was a baby. That was when she was contacted about fostering me, and after hearing my backstory, she immediately told my dad that it was happening, period. I later found out that my birth mother had tried to strangle me, and that if my biological dad hadn't walked in when he did, I wouldn't be here today. About 3 months after I was released from the hospital is when the visions began to happen. A lot of people continue to try and call them dreams, but dreams don't come true, not like this stuff. I had a vision that my mom would meet another man when I was 14, and together they would have my little brother Joey. I told my mom about the vision, and she sort of laughed it off, and then when I was 14, one of my friends invited me to a get-together, and while there, my mom and my friend's uncle hit it off. A year later, my little brother was born. I don't know what it was about Tom, but I took to him like he was my real dad, and he to me. He always treated me as if I were his biological son. When I turned 25 in 1999, I had a dream about a terrorist attack that would happen sometime in the near future. As we know, 9/11 happened in 2001. In 2002, I had yet another prophetic vision, this time showing me meeting my future wife. I was 31 years old when I met Carrie. We married in 2006 and had 3 kids by 2010. In 2011, I had yet another vision, this time showing strife happening in Eastern Europe. In 2014, Russia began land-grabbing regions from Ukraine. I began to wonder how in the world all of these dreams had been coming true. In 2015, I saw a global food shortage and people being locked away in camps, serving as quarantine zones. We all know what happened in the coming years, and before anyone says anything, how was I supposed to know that this vision meant COVID? No one would have listened anyway. Late one night, I was stumbling upon YouTube and saw a video about a woman that saw 70 years into the future. It seems like ever since I heard that NDE, my visions have been becoming more and more frequent. I used to only get 1 or 2 a year. Now it is almost weekly. Unfortunately, my visions do not provide me with the dates of these happenings, only that they will happen. 3 weeks ago, I dreamed of a worldwide banking system failure. I didn't see anything about digital dollars, only that the banking system started to go belly up at a quicker rate. A week after that, I saw a lot of explosions, a bridge of some sort, and a small mushroom cloud. I don't know where this was going to happen. Last week, I saw brother against brother, sister against sister, cousin against cousin fighting against each other. Last night, the vision that I had showed a world destroyed. Climate change seems to have gotten out of hand, and the whole world began to fight over precious resources, with land being the main resource. Do I know whether this is a vision of World War III? No, and I want to reiterate that in everything that I have seen through my visions, none of them have dates on them. While the lady who claims to be a psychic may have seen dates in hers, I was not granted that right. All I do know is that eventually, humanity is going to wipe itself out. My visions have never been wrong. Most people think I'm joking when I tell them I have prophetic visions. I hope that you don't take this as a joke. Please let your listeners know that I am not a psychic, and do not ask me about their future, because I don't know it. Being able to see the future of other people and having prophetic visions are 2 separate things. One is of the devil, and the other is from God. Anyway, feel free to email me anytime. I would like to keep an open line with you if possible. Oh, and before I forget, this isn't meant to scare anyone, as once again, I do not have exact dates on when any of this will happen. I just know that it will, and it is the not knowing part that scares me the most. That does it for today's experience. Let me know what you all thought of Daniel's experience.